fuck things up and we make mistakes. We talk about our sexy dates. We host events and we go to clubs, but most of all we're still in love. It's getting hard for this to rhyme just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. It's bed hopping time.
Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name is Mr. H.
I am Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today. We have got some top topics to discuss today. But first, before we get into that stuff, we've got an announcement to make.
Yes.
We're getting divorced. No, it's not that.
time.
No, that's not. No. That's in a few years' time.
You'll stick with me forever.
Am I? Okay. So the thing that we have got to announce,
Yes.
and that we're going to announce, and that we want to announce, and that we
are
trailed last time,
indeed announcing
that on the 6th of September, we are hosting an event.
Yeah, that's the day before my birthday.
It's the day before your birthday.
Yes.
So it's really important that you come along and help us celebrate Mrs. H's birthday.
Yeah.
6th of September. Where are we going, wife?
We're going to Birmingham.
Apologies for that accent.
And we are hosting a social event in Birmingham.
Called Reassembled.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're like getting the gang back together and it's going to be awesome and we're reassembling.
Is it like...
No disassemble.
Is it like Transformers related?
Well, it gave me like Transformery like vibes.
I'm getting Avengers vibes.
Reassembled, yeah. Avengers Assemble kind of thing. Yeah, I liked the sort of like gathering quality.
All friends and new.
Yes, reassembled.
Yes.
Like we're going out, we're doing an event, it's in Birmingham, and we're going to get the band together and everyone else have a awesome night.
Yes.
So if you want to get tickets to this awesome night, there will be a sort of, you really need to message us, really, I guess. It's not a link. So the reason why we do this is that, you need to send us an email, a tweet, or an owl, fab, or a Swing Hub message, or whichever is your preferred option of contacting us, and we will send you the link to tickets. The reason that we do that is so that we can keep a check on the variety of people, the numbers, and the variety of people that are coming along. So we want to try and make sure that we've got a good good Tex Mex. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, some nachos, some good nachos. Single guys, single ladies, couples, thruples, quads, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, and we do that a little bit more because we charge per person, right? We don't charge per couple because that's it just doesn't work for all those different combinations of people. But we do like to control it a bit in terms of the balance of all of those folks there. So that's why we ask that you contact us, you reach out, and we will send you the link.
Now, it's likely that we will make it a weekend of stuff.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. So what we thought we'd do is we'd amble up to Birmingham on the 5th?
We'll go on the Friday. We'll be around all weekend.
Yeah, and then like maybe go out and just do like an ad hoc, hey, if you're around this area, we'll be around here. Let's all catch up and have drinks. So if you're travelling to Birmingham...
Make a weekend of it.
And then you can see us on the Friday. We'll be out having some drinks, having a good time. And then on the Saturday, we'll probably do like a lunchy thing. Maybe meet up and say, hey, we're going to be here for lunch. Come along if you want. And then in the evening, let the socialising begin, which is, if you've not been to a social before, it's a great opportunity to meet, to mingle, to party.
No pressure.
There's no play. It's a non-play event. Dress up a little bit. Hey, be smart and sexy, but not too naughty. And there we go. It's like a perfect way of kind of getting to know other people better. Yeah. To, meet us if that's what your jam is, and also meet some of our friends that have been to some of our events before.
Now, are you going to reveal what kind of entertainment there may be on the night? Or is that a complete surprise?
That is a complete surprise.
I will say nothing more then.
Until a little bit later on. So if you get tickets, there may be some bonus things that come along with this. Yeah. But we're not going to, we're just teasing you constantly. This is our general
Constantly
theme.
Edging
Much tease and merriment.
It's too hot for this edging.
Yeah, it is. It is a bit warm. So if you're in the UK, you probably know how frigging hot it is at the moment.
Hellscape.
Yeah, it's warmer than we'd like, which is pretty much...
It's about 30 degrees.
It's about 30 degrees. So once again, I am very grateful that a few years ago we purchased an air conditioner for our bedroom. That thing is going to get burned out in the next couple of days, I suspect. Anyway, enough about such nonsense about our bedroom antics, air conditioning and all that.
I think I should trial what's coming next now. Well, our episode.
But I just wanted to summarise the whole thing. So 6th of September, reassembled, meet and mingle event. If you want to come along, send us a detail, send us a message. Yeah. We'll drop you the details, we'll drop you the link. Please don't forward that link on to other people. No. Make sure they come through us, and then we'll come and see you and party with you. What I will say is, already we are about 50% sold out because we've opened it to our communities, our patrons and our Discord community.
Yeah.
And we should be about, at the time of recording, we're on the way to 50% sold out.
That's pretty good.
But by the time this comes out, we should be about 50%, right?
Excellent stuff.
Excellent. That was it sounded a bit like Merman from
I thought you were doing a bit of Merman.
Yeah. That one. That dude.
So do you want to know what's coming next on this episode?
Is it me?
It's a bit hot for this, isn't it?
I can power on through, I can assure you. But
You're
tell
a
me.
trooper, aren't you?
I know.
Not
the
all
things.
here wear very little.
I am
You're just
literally
wearing some shorts.
wearing some shorts. That's it. And then outer shorts. I cannot go outside in this outfit.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's coming next.
Tell me for why.
Yeah. So it's my dream, actually, because I'm finally getting a whole episode to myself. And this is going to be an hour and a half bonanza of Pokemon.
It is not.
So strap in, guys. This is going to be a wet dream for you Poké nerds. I'm going to talk about all the Pokemon. Going to talk about all my adventures with the Pokemon, what Pokemon I caught. It's just going to be great.
Hang on. Why?
No. This is what I'm going to do.
No, it's not.
This is my podcast today.
But why are you talking about Pokemon?
I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
Well, I went off to Paris.
Yes.
Yes, I did. I went to Paris for 3 days. My first proper time away from you, I think. We'd never really do things separately like this.
Well, I think, in terms of socializing, that's the first time that you've done
we've
that.
been away for work,
Yeah,
but we don't tend to go and do separate holidays or anything.
No, and I think, for work, we've both been away for a couple of days. I think I've been away for nearly a week or whatever
That's
before.
different, though. It's
enforced. It's enforced. Yeah, and it's not as fun as you might like. So, okay, so this is your first kind of going
away from you.
Yeah, actually, I think I have been away, but it was like stag do's.
Oh, a stag do.
But I don't know if that counts. So
no.
Perhaps not.
And I was quite surprised that you afforded me the opportunity to go away because, like I say, we do tend to go and have adventures together. But this was indeed a Pokemon event I was going to, and you really didn't want to come with me.
No, well, I think, I knew you were really keen to go because you dropped enough hints for a long time. And so it's the Pokemon Go Fest, is it? Is that the name of it?
Well, let's get this right. It's Pokemon, Niantic.
Yeah.
Host a global in-person event once a year.
Yeah.
And they call it Go Fest.
Go Fest. All
now,
right.
there are global online versions that you can play wherever you are in the world, which is also happening this year, which, yes, I do have tickets for, but that is you can do it anywhere.
Okay.
This is an in-person one.
Okay.
And this year they had 4. So they're in different places. I think there was one in Osaka, Japan. There was one in New Jersey. This one was in Paris, which is obviously much closer to home.
Yeah.
It's not in Japan. And I was lucky enough to go to one in London 2 years ago. But last year it was in Madrid. So absolutely didn't go to that.
So you'd been mentioning the fact that this was coming along.
Yes.
So we had a bit of a conversation because I thought, well, actually, you could go to this because I don't really. The thing is if you're doing a Pokemon thing, I don't play Pokemon Go. It's not my jam. But basically,
one negative thing about you, babe.
there had to be
Hate
one.
to bring it up.
I'm sure the gentle listeners have more than one negative thing about me. But I think one of the things is that if you're playing Pokemon, basically I'm just walking alongside you whilst you start talking to me about something and then immediately change topics because you found something interesting on Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then we never get back to the original conversation. So it ends up being like a really frustrating long walk where I don't really get to talk or do anything. And if I put my headphones in and listen to my own thing, you're like, hey, babe, I'm doing this. And I'm like, that's great.
Well, you'd have hated this.
I think I
You
would
would absolutely have hated it.
I think I would have done. So my take is that you could go along to that and perhaps you could have a naughty adventure while you're out and about.
Because the other part of the story is I already did have a swingery friend in our lifestyle that we know very well.
Hang on, I'm thinking of a name. I've got a name coming, right? We've got to give this person...
Well, we are going to give this person a name.
Right, so...
And we're going to give her a Pokemon-related name.
All right, what was the woman in Team Rocket called?
Jessie.
That's it. That's the name. That's what she's called from now
there's
onwards.
Jessie and James in Team
but
Rocket.
she's just Jessie, right?
She is just Jessie.
Now
so
she
we're
is
going to call her Jessie.
forever known.
For purposes of this story.
For the protection of the not-so-innocent.
For the protection of the not-so-innocent, we are going to call her Jessie.
We are calling this lovely lady Jessie. We've said this a few times. And I think the reason why I was saying it so many times
make
is...
sure I don't get it wrong.
Yeah, is so that it's in our heads. And I'm sure there'll be some editing going along the way, right?
I'm going to be perfect with this.
Okay, what else might you call Jessie?
Hot.
Okay, there we go. Right, so
So she was already going.
Yeah.
She was lucky enough to just be like, I'm going to this anyway. And we did also have another friend going, not part of Void for Wisp, but just happened to be another acquaintance in our Pokemon community. So
all right.
There are many Pokemon people in our lives, and we are part of a bigger sort of community of Pokemon people.
Pokemon people.
Pokemon people.
If you're listening, right, and you play Pokemon Go and you
then
haven't...
welcome to the show.
Well,
this one is for you.
Well, if you play...
Why are we not friends?
Yes, that's what I was going to get to. Why not send Mrs. H a friend code?
Why not?
Why not?
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Worst that could happen is we could level up to best friends, you get 400 cheeky XP for it, and then I ditch you.
Yeah, this is the way it
Wouldn't
goes.
you love to have that happen?
Maybe. It doesn't sound like the sort of thing that I would indulge. But anyway, carry on with your story, dear.
Anyway, context there. We were going to Paris. You said, go to Paris. I know you really want to go. And it would be a really good opportunity as well whilst you're there, since I'm there for 3 days.
Yeah.
Because the festival itself was a day.
Yeah.
So on the Friday. And then on the Thursday, we had to get one on Thursday because we needed to be in Paris early Friday morning.
Okay.
And then we had extended kind of city play either side of that event. So it'd be extend the play, but with like slightly different bonuses. So we went for 3 days.
Okay.
And you said, go. And you can have...
You said Pokemon Go.
You can have a solo adventure whilst you're there with Jessie. Mm-hmm. Because we know Jessie well. I've played with Jessie before with you.
Yeah.
You've actually played with Jessie solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is true.
On your 4-hour I lost track of time evening.
Who knows? I don't even know what day that was.
3 times. But anyway, that's another story, as we know. The point is, she is well known to us. We are very comfortable with her. It's not someone new to either of us in a play dynamic.
So in advance of this happening, we had a conversation with another solo lady friend.
Yes.
Or single lady friend, should we say. And she said, well, if you're doing that, I'll look after Mr. H for for that night that you're having your naughty date.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well for both of us because it meant that while sexy times were happening, we were both able to have sexy times in different countries, different time zones on the same day.
It was very important that we did it on the same day so that you are happily distracted with your toys.
Yeah.
Because I know you don't like to be just alone sitting thinking with your own thoughts, because ideally we like to distract you a little bit.
Strangely, I think the distance kind of helped with that
Did
a
it
bit
help?
because I think, it was more a case of you're over there. It's not like different postcode rules or whatever.
No, definitely. Different time zones.
Different time
I was
zones.
an hour ahead of you.
But there was a little element of protection as a result of that.
I
because
hope there was a big element of protection, babe.
Well, because you're in a different country
Yes.
and hours away, it was a bit like, okay, well, that's happening over there. I'm not going to be able to do anything about it.
You're going to storm in a room and go, no,
yeah.
stop this immediately.
Yeah, so
I'm very unhappy.
There was definitely a touch of that. Not a massive amount, but enough of it to be a bit of a buffer for me, I think.
But also,
anyway.
I did like the idea that you also doing a similar activity.
Similar activity.
Although a bit in very different kind of ways, I think, because we've had very different experiences.
Okay.
But we'll come on to yours in a moment.
All right. Well, this is about you, obviously.
This is about me, and back to the Pokemon and how many I caught. No.
Right, you've got 2 minutes to tell everyone about the Pokemon stuff.
Do you?
Yeah, you've
Am I
got 2
genuinely
minutes.
allowed to?
You've got 2 minutes. As soon as that timer hits, go.
All right. Is it go now?
Yes, it is going.
Pokemon Go?
Yes.
Right. Well, Well, the event was absolutely enormous. There were about, oh my God, thousands of people there. I want to say maybe 4,000. Don't look like you're asleep, because I'm going to whisper this to you and you'll sleep tonight. Otherwise, I'll wake you up again. It was extremely well organised. There was a bit of a bizarre ending to it because they had to evict the park an hour early, which is the French authorities, nothing to do with Niantic, because there was an impending storm. And so we actually had to finish the event an hour early, which fans were fuming about because we had no way of knowing this was going to happen. And the last hour was actually really important in the game because it's your chance to like tidy everything up, get the things you haven't got, get your merch if you've pre-ordered some. But no, they shut everything and said, no, there's a terrible storm coming. You have to get out of the park an hour early. And so as a way of compensation, they're actually giving us a makeup 4-hour event this Sunday. Lucky, which I can play in the UK. So I get to do it all over again for 4 hours on Sunday. There you go, I'll stop there.
That was like a minute,
yeah,
just over a minute.
I didn't want to bore you.
Right,
I didn't want to bore you. And I will refer to Pokemon throughout my story.
Oh,
Do not worry.
Oh, fine. As long as we've got some Pokemon-related nonsense in this, then
Yes,
we're fine.
absolutely.
So sort of got on the train. In fact, you went by train this
I
time.
went on Eurostar, which was very fancy.
Paris, and had a little Pokemon day. And then on Friday evening, you had something of a date.
Yeah, so I'm going to walk you through a little bit about my adventures
All
generally.
right, go on then.
Okay.
Yeah, please tell me about your adventures.
There is bits of context around, the build-up, what happened, and afterwards and such like. So on the Thursday, yes, we travelled to Paris on Eurostar. We did have some Pokemon activity that day. And then we had some dinner with like the three of us because there was like another friend there. That was all lovely. Very nice. Bit of acclimatising to the insane heat because it was 34 degrees out there. That was not cool.
Pretty much every text I got from you was about the fucking heat.
It was ridiculous. Honestly, never been so hot.
I was like, are you having fun? Yes, but it's too hot. It's so
was
hot, so hot.
And
Come on.
I also walked about 40 kilometres over that 3 days.
Okay.
Which is not easy in heat like that.
No, I don't.
And I have returned with a French cold, unfortunately.
There we go.
But anyway, I should move on to Friday because that is the main day.
That is the main day.
That is the main day. That was the day of our event, our Pokemon event. So we had tickets for this in Parc de Sceaux, which was kind of Versailles, maybe. So it was about a 45-minute journey from the centre of Paris out to Parc de Sceaux. Park was beautiful, stunning, fucking obnoxious steps and stuff, which we had to traverse in the heat. Not cool. However, it was also that night was going to be our solo date.
Okay.
So bear in mind, we walk a million miles during this very, very hot day. And when it came to the park closing kind of scramble to get back across Paris, actually, I was feeling pretty dead. If I'm honest, Jessie was feeling like also dead. We both felt like we definitely unlocked an 8th circle of hell.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It was very not conducive to feeling sexy for later.
Okay.
So actually, had you said to me, you know what, babe, just go home, lie down in a cool air-conditioned room, have a shower and go to sleep, I would have been like, fuck yes. Didn't actually feel remotely sexy at this point. However, I knew I had to rally for later that day. Now, back in the UK, an hour behind in time, your solo date was arriving at some point during the day on Friday.
Yeah.
And I was aware of that. That was all good. And so you kept me informed of like when she was arriving, and that was nice. I got some pictures of you out having cocktails, which is lovely. And then back to France. Right. And so this was the first time we'd really spent time together, I think, me and Jessie, like a long time together. We've often spent time, the three of us, or if I have spent time with her alone, it's never been in a kind of play on our minds kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's always been kind of just fun Pokemon stuff.
All right.
So it was really nice. We got to know each other quite a bit on the train because we had like 3 hours of just like sat on the train together. And so that was really, really nice to like build a little bit more sort of knowledge and find out a little bit more about her. And I think she said the same afterwards. It was actually really nice to build a bit more of a connection.
Cool.
So it was lovely. And then Friday night, we got back to the hotel, literally like fell into like a heap in our respective rooms, like dead from heat. Both had like super long showers. I had a little lie down in the air-conditioned room, messaged you a little bit. And then I had to rally to get out into France because we were planning to go for dinner.
Yeah.
But we had originally, I thought, maybe we might have had dinner kind of in the centre of Paris a little bit where there's like lots of sights and lots of like touristy stuff. But as it happens, by the time we got back to the hotel, we really had to like stay local, I think, to the hotel because it was late.
Well, I think you had the potential of a storm.
Yeah, there was a storm warning.
I think you were tired and had a long day, so you didn't want to go out and go about too much.
We would have got really hot travelling back again. That was the problem. And I think we hadn't accounted for how hot it was going to be travelling anywhere.
Okay, that's fair.
So we didn't want to get back from a nice meal out and then have to like down tools and have another shower and a lie down. So we stayed local. We went to a nice little Parisian bistro, which is about a 10-minute walk from a hotel. And it was really lovely. It was very, very French. Like really super French. It was like something like Ratatouille. Beautiful. And the restaurant owner was this like really cute old guy that had the just giant long white apron on and like grey fuzzy hair, and he was just lovely. So we sat kind of almost on the pavement, I think, but with 2 glasses of champagne. French champagne.
Oh, very nice.
Very reasonable in France. Did you know?
Funny that, yeah.
Yeah, same price as a decent glass of wine over here.
Oh, okay, there we go.
For champagne.
Yeah.
And we thought, it's got to be done. We're in France.
It's rude not to, really, isn't it, to be fair?
Having a lovely French dinner. beautiful buildings around us.
Okay.
So we had this nice kind of dinner and we were just discussing our day about Pokemon stuff. And then the storm came. A huge storm came. So we sat there and we watched all this lightning like carrying on behind these beautiful buildings. And it like changed so much. Like wind kicked up and all the glasses and cutlery like flew everywhere in the restaurant. It was like, oh my God, this is like wild. So then she got a lightning app out.
This does sound very much like Jessie.
So she had a lightning app on her phone and we got that out and we were tracking the lightning getting closer and closer to us, which is really funny. I liked it. Then this guy turned up and I think he was like local to the restaurant because he seemed to know the owner, and I think he must have spent like quite a lot of time there because they seemed quite on good friendly terms. But the reason I'm mentioning him is because we decided to name him Marcel.
Okay.
Because he kind of pulled up a seat kind of just behind us and then proceeded to try and like have a conversation with us in French, which we kind of stumbled through. And then he was like warning us about pickpocketers and stuff, and he was just like chatting away to us. And we were like, cool, is he cracking on to us? I don't know. He was quite sexy though. Sexy French guy. Called him Marcel. Yeah. Anyway, so we had another glass of champagne just to finish watching the storm, because the storm by this time was like there, but it wasn't really raining. It was just lightning and thunder and windy. And then I thought, well, okay, we're about to sort of head back to the hotel and we haven't really done anything sexy. We've just talked about Pokemon, which arguably is quite sexy to us both. But, you know, we needed to make the next step, I think.
Okay.
So by this time she was sitting next to me rather than opposite me because we were watching the lightning together. And then I leaned over and I thought, I'm just going to kiss her because we're on a date, right?
Yeah, why not?
So I leaned over and kissed her. This was in full view of Marcel. Didn't think about the time. Just leaned over and kissed this woman.
Putting on a show for Marcel.
Which I hadn't really thought about, but then Jessie did kind of mention to me afterwards, like, I think Marcel saw that. And he was like, hey, I think my luck's in here with these ladies. It was not. But then really, really, really endearingly, the owner of the restaurant, let's call him Gustav, why not? He came over to both of us mid-kiss and flung his arms around both our shoulders and went, life is beautiful. This life is for sharing and being loving. And we were like, oh my God, that's actually not creepy. It's just really sweet.
As he stole your phone from your pocket.
He was the pickpocketer.
It was him. It was
Oh
Marcel
my
all
God.
along. Or Gustav.
No. But I found that really lovely. I guess because, I don't know, maybe they don't see many women make out in French restaurants, or maybe they do.
Maybe they just like watching people make out. They are French after all. If you did that in one of the restaurants over here, people would probably be protesting out there within about 5.5 minutes.
And it was really lovely to have some positive affirmation of our little PDA.
Yeah.
Because it was lovely and it was really sweet. There was like lightning flashing and, you know, like weird weather going on, and we were just having this little kiss in this French restaurant. And then Gustav comes over and gives us a big
He's
hug.
like, oh la la.
But that was good because it gave us like the impetus then to go, right, that's it, we're going to leave now. Because we've done this little kiss. And
Did you just throw your glasses down? We're done now. To the room.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but it felt like the natural time to end the night there and move on to the next bit.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we walked back to the hotel very slowly because we'd walked a lot that day. And I think by this time what I'd heard from you was not a great deal other than you'd been out for dinner and I had some pictures of you out having cocktails. And I said to you we were going back to the hotel at that point.
Okay.
Anyway, then we went to our respective rooms and just like grabbed bits and pieces and stuff. We'd already decided to go to her room.
Okay.
Because she had a better bed. Very important.
Yeah, obviously.
And so when I went to her room, we then set up a tripod.
Well, one of the things that
One request you'd asked for was some pictures this time.
you had two side quests. One was to bring me back the best croissant in Paris.
And I achieved that.
Which you did bring me back a croissant, and it was very, very good.
And it was one of the best.
It was
I walked a long way to get that fucking croissant.
It was very, very good. And also I said, if you can take some pictures, great.
Yeah.
But Jessie, I think, had volunteered to help you with this task.
Oh, yes.
Because I think
She actually enjoys doing it.
Yeah, I think she
whereas
enjoys.
it fills me with fear.
Yeah. And I think actually she was kind of very supportive of that. She's done that before, I think. and was very sort of, oh, I've got the tripod, I've got this and that. So,
which I was eternally grateful for, because that's not my forte.
No.
And had I been trying to take pictures myself, it would have been shaky hand cam style. Oh, I guess this is a foot.
Yeah.
Not very good at all.
The Blair Sex Project.
So it was very important that she got that set up. And originally we were going to try and film some stuff for you, because we thought
I thought so.
Well, we thought it'd be less of a hindrance for us to keep stopping and taking pictures. But then she said, I have my clicker.
Yeah.
Which turns out you have many of these.
Yeah. There's I think I've got 10 or 15 around the house.
I didn't know any of this. Otherwise, I could have bought my own clicker maybe and learned how to use a damn thing. But she was quite proficient at using this clicker. I wonder why. And so she had hers all set up. I did try and pair it to my phone. It was having none of it. No, didn't like it.
So you took a couple of pictures.
We took some test pictures just to make sure it was all in the right position. The lighting was great. And that was fine. And then we kind of forgot about it because it was there and done. We put a sexy French playlist on.
Nice.
This is important because the music's actually quite important to me.
Yeah.
I don't need music to have sex, but I also quite like a bit of ambience and so we put a sexy French playlist on.
I mean, it's not putting Deep Space Nine on the background, but I'm
it's better.
Well, I don't know.
No, I want to watch the episode once it's on.
I don't know if I can't look behind your shoulder and see Major Kira there. Can I get?
Yeah, but whenever I look over his shoulder, it's always Odo. Probably not really my thing.
Shapeshifter would be quite helpful.
Well, maybe, but he turns into a pool of ooze, so it's not really my thing. Anyway, so we got all that sorted, and we could not worry, if that makes sense, because every now and then she was able to just press the clicker.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Didn't even have to get up and check anything. And so we lay down and just chatted for, I don't know, half an hour. Just lay on the bed chatting.
Yeah.
About, God, stupid things. I think I'm really crap at this, solo date lark, because I just didn't know what to do or say. And it sounds really silly because obviously I know how to be intimate with people, and obviously I know, we're moving from one bit to another, but it's actually really oddly out of a comfort zone sometimes when you're going there for a specific reason, and it's hard sometimes to start something without it being odd.
Certainly I've found I have to kind of almost go, right, hey, should we go and do some sex now? Not quite to that language, but it's almost like
sometimes feels okay, we should do this because we've put it out there and said it. But some of me misses the days when it went organically into it just happens. But I get that life moves around like that and doesn't.
But the thing is about the organic thing, right, is almost like what you want to do is you want to meet someone while you're out and about and not have any kind of sexy idea in your brain, but be obviously ready for sexy times because you'd want to physically be polished and scrubbed or whatever and wearing your sexy pants.
You have to be ready.
Right. So you not only need to be ready randomly, bump into someone randomly and escalate randomly to the point where you're having this organic sexy time.
And then randomly find an area to have it in.
Yeah, I don't think that's...
No, it doesn't. You're right.
...particularly realistic. I think you just have to bite the bullet and be a bit like, hey, this is fun. Let's make it a fun thing. Let's have some sexy times.
Yeah, but it's almost awkward sometimes.
Yeah, it is awkward. But starting sex can be just awkward anyway. It's and I think, even between us, it can be it's still a weirdly awkward thing. It's like, hey, let's go up and do a sex on each other. And I think you need to break that ice and kind of take the lead on it. I think, interestingly, you when it's us operating as a couple, you've got your backup partner, and it's not so bad if one person starts something, because actually that's normally a catalyst for everyone starting something. So there is a kind of, we've got a team on it rather than just doing that by yourself. But I don't think you can worry too much about it being awkward to start and being like, this is really, we're here to have sex. Well, yes, you asked her out on a date and you said, I would like to have sexy times with you. So, you're going to feel like it was aligned and predetermined that was an outcome. Yeah,
but it sometimes feels awkward. And it probably isn't in reality. It's actually quite exciting because, hey, this person wants to have sex with you, right? So actually that's quite sexy. But I wish I was better at navigating my own internal awkwardness sometimes.
Maybe you need like a killer line, like where you kind of go, I mean, maybe this isn't the killer line, but like, hey, you know that bit when you're on your back and coming because I'm like going down on you? Let's make that happen.
Oh, but now you're putting the naughty words in my head, which I can't.
Well, that wasn't too
can't
naughty,
do.
right? It wasn't like super naughty.
I mean-
Anyway, talking of naughty things,
Yeah.
like what was the naughty stuff? What happened? Tell us about
I'm
that.
moving to that now.
Well, yeah, you should
so
be.
I got over my own weird awkwardness by starting to kiss her.
Okay.
I thought I'm just going to do this now. I'm going to kiss her. We'd already been lying there with like dresses were kind of a little bit, up and around us kind of thing.
Okay.
Which helped.
Yeah.
And then I just climbed on top of her.
Nice.
So actually it was me that did the less awkward initiation of moving to the next bit.
Okay.
So I climbed on top of her. Still fully clothed, both of us. Had aircon on, I should say. Thank
Okay,
Christ. So I climbed on top of Jessie. And then we carried on like kissing, making out. And I remember her saying to me, I'm really enjoying how close contact we have right now, like how good that feels. And it did feel good. It was really hot because we managed to get into a position where we were very close. We were close.
What do you mean by close? I don't understand.
Jesus Christ, our clicks were rubbing, all right?
How are they doing that?
Well, because we were on top of each other.
You're on top of each
I was sitting
other?
on top of her.
So you were grinding against her?
Yes,
Okay.
I was doing that.
All right.
And then
Clit to clit or thigh to clit?
No, clit to clit, but through sexy underwear.
Through sexy
Because
underwear?
we were still dressed.
Okay.
And that was nice.
Sort of like a sort of quasi-scissor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's a sexy name for it, isn't it?
With like a layer of very lacy underpants in between us.
Okay.
Like-
It sounds like something you might order at a shop. Can I have a quasi-scissoring with a pair of...
So we were both wearing really pretty underwear.
Okay.
Then we both kind of undressed a little bit. So dresses came off. Oh my God, we were wearing matching Pokemon dresses. I told you Pokemon would get into this episode again.
No doubt.
We were wearing matching Pokemon dresses. They weren't the same Pokemon. Hers were like Gengar and the psychics, and I was wearing Eevee.
And what I'm loving right now is people are listening to that. Just tell us the sexy bit, Mrs.
This
H.
is part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is for them.
Anyway, so then we did this for a little while, actually, like just making out, kissing, rubbing around and that kind of thing. And then there was lots of clicking of photos, side quest in the middle of all this. So
Nice.
we made sure we did lots of this. And then I kind of got off and lay down next to her and she climbed on top of me. And we kind of repeated the process, but with some agile manoeuvring so that we were in contact at a slightly different angle.
Okay.
So I would say, yes, it was probably scissoring, but maybe not like what you would think traditional scissoring where you're like locked in a kind of L shape or something. It was just more, we moved around till we found a good spot
Okay.
of contact. And by this time, then we decided that underwear should come off too.
Nice.
So scissoring then progressed to tribbing.
Oh,
I'm
there
going
we go.
to say tribbing.
Tribbing. What's the trouble with tribbing?
It is the trouble with tribbles. So tribbing, yes, is more close genital contact where there's good feelings and sensations.
I love how much you're struggling to tell
I'm
this.
I'm actually doing quite well for me. I think I'm coping well.
Okay, come on. What happened?
Now, when I first climbed on top of Jessie, I genuinely felt quite, I feel like this could be, I could probably climax maybe at some point if I carried on like for a while. But also I wanted to change around and take clothes off and whatnot. So we kind of moved around and I didn't feel quite the same, but it was still really hot.
Okay.
So we did this for a little while. I think she came because, she sounded like she came, but she didn't tell me explicitly at the time.
Okay.
And then...
No sort of achievement popped up like
I think she
350
did.
Xbox Gs.
No, like Scott Pilgrim style.
Yeah.
No, none of that. But she
Okay.
did then kind of climb off me, and we then got out some toys, which we had bought a selection of toys with us. Not with a view of using all of them, but we wanted to chat through them, see what we had, see if anything appealed to us. She did have some kind of more internally focused ones, but as we know, I'd been suffering with a kidney infection and I was getting to the end of that, thankfully, but I also didn't want to risk anything kind of going
want
wrong
to poke
again.
the bear.
No,
literally
didn't
and physically.
feel like a necessary addition to anything for me. So I was like, actually, no, I'm good with all the external stimulation. It's working for me. I'm happy. And so we settled on my Doxy Bullet that you bought me, like the super pretty rose gold one that's in its like fancy
Casing that looks like it's a cross between Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park.
Yeah, like an egg incubator. Yeah. So I
kind of got that.
We settled on that because I know it works for me, and she wanted to play with that with me.
Okay.
So she wanted to use that on me. So she did. I lay there and she kind of held it on me, but there was a lot of show and tell. There was a lot of like, show me how it works for you, show me what feels good. And I'll be honest, it took me a little while, but I think maybe I'd got back into my own head a little bit about the fact that I cannot climax anywhere near as quickly as some people, especially her. So I did a little bit get into my own head about, oh no, what if it takes ages? And
so what if it takes ages though?
Yeah, but it's easier said than done when you're in a moment where you think, oh no, what if this is not right?
Yeah, I understand.
But anyway, that's fine. Then I kind of relaxed a bit more. And yeah, she did use that on me, and then I came. But as I came, she then also came, but without touching herself.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know this because she told me. She did not even like touch herself.
So that the idea of you coming was such a powerful
and the sound
enough to push her over the edge. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not that the bullet is so powerful that it's rumbling the bed.
No, God, no, the vibrations. Because I then stupidly said, like, you did come right. And she went, oh, yeah, several times. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then we realised by this time it was like, oh, my God, 1:30 in the morning. Somehow it had just, time had gone like nothing.
Yeah.
And it was 1:30. So we went, right, okay. So we lay there for like 10 minutes just chilling out. We reviewed the 22 photos of SideQuest. Decided they were really hot. That was really good. And we sent one to you.
Yep.
We did. And then I went back to my room and we said goodnight. So that kind of was the end of the sexy stuff.
Yeah.
But then when I got back to my room, I then messaged you a few times. Now, bearing in mind, it was an hour earlier in the UK.
Yeah.
And
we were an hour behind.
Yeah. So you were kind of like, oh, yeah, sexy times is finished and going to go to bed. But what I hadn't realised, and this isn't a negative thing, it's just an observation that I haven't really thought about until I was kind of thinking back over all this thing. And you said, yeah, we had sex twice, like once before dinner, and then went out for dinner and then came back and had sex again.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not surprised.
Way to give spoilers on my account.
Yeah, but it's important for my story because of the way I felt.
Okay.
Okay, so I wasn't surprised particularly because you're very well known for repeating and stuff and multiple sexy stuff. Not a problem. But I was almost kind of surprised you hadn't told me. No, not it's a bad thing, but I was surprised to hear it because you normally send me a little text, say, hey, sex is starting or something along those lines. And then I often get a text at the end saying, hey, now we're good. So I'm used to that. In the solo dates you've had, it has always kind of followed a little bit of a pattern like that. And I'm always like conditioned to being mentally prepared for the beginning end journey.
Okay.
In a way. So I was almost like, have they started anything yet? Has it happened? And you were like, oh yeah, we're done twice. I was like, oh, but where was my alert? Where was my hey twice? And also it's done and then out for dinner and then done again. It was odd for me.
Yeah, I get that. I think so. What I was trying not to disturb your date, and I was trying to let you have your moment and not disturb your sort of sexy times while that was going on. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to just interrupt that by going, hey, I'm having sex now. Right. Because I know you were out for your date. So I just assumed, perhaps wrongly, that we'd catch up afterwards and be like, hey, this is what we got up to. Oh. And I did message you throughout the course of the evening. I just didn't tell you.
No, I know you did. It's
so,
fine.
I even sent you pictures of me playing dominoes at one point.
I know. Had me rather baffled. Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? We still couldn't remember how to fucking play the game.
I think it was the first sexy time that I was more like, oh, because that would have been much earlier. That would have been like pre-dinner.
Yeah, that would have been pre-dinner.
And pre-date for me. Yeah, it absolutely would have been pre-date for me.
Maybe, I don't know. So, yeah, perhaps.
So it was the first thing I think that I went, oh, that's weird that you didn't Didn't say anything.
Well, it's not that I was hiding anything, because obviously I told you about
obviously.
it. And I think it was just more a case of I was letting you crack on, and just because I thought you were having your date, like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 o'clock my time. So I was like, okay, cool. Great. She's off doing her thing. I don't want to interrupt that. I'll just keep her updated on where we're going, because I know you want the food pictures and the date pictures and the drink pictures and all that sort of stuff. So I didn't really think to interrupt your moments with my own sort of naughtiness. So I thought, well, that's fine, because then when we catch up at the end of the evening, which I knew we would do, then I'd be like, oh, this is what I got up to. So there wasn't any kind of like hidden agenda there.
No.
I think it was just a case of I just hadn't thought to tell you, because I didn't want to stop the flow of your own thing.
Okay. I mean, that does make sense. But it was an observation that came to me when I realised it was only after the fact that I went, oh, that kind of made me feel a little bit, I wasn't sad, I wasn't upset, nothing like that. I promise you. It was more different to what we'd previously done, I think. So it just took me by surprise slightly. I went, oh my God, you did it twice. And I didn't even know.
I think,
how?
Well, I think there is something in the, as a learning experience that we
It's always a learning experience.
Kind of figure out what works and how we navigate this sort of stuff. And I do think there is a case of you'd like to know when sexy time has begun and ended.
I do, because mentally I then acknowledge that and go, cool, I can do what I want with that now. I can either use that in a sexy way to my own advantage by thinking, oh, he's having sex now, that's cool, that's quite hot. But also I'm mentally like, right, I know what's happening, I'm all good, and it's nice that I know.
And
and that's really all I need to know, in a way.
So I totally get that. It was an interesting one, because obviously you didn't come back until quite late the following day, so I didn't pick you up from the train station.
Oh God, it should have been
until
earlier
sort
as
of
well,
like
but
11ish or
train
something
delays,
like that. By the time we dropped Jessie home and then got us home, it was kind of quite late, and you'd had a day of trains. And whilst it was really lovely to see you, and we were able to reconnect, which is awesome, I think we were both a bit sort of tired, and it was kind of like a long day, and you were hot. So I think there was that took a little bit of that sort of, hey, we're back to, like, had it been like next morning running into each other's arms, I suspect it would have been a far sexier encounter for both of us.
Although we did have really super nice reconnection sex later.
And that was really lovely. But I think it was, and there was something about the anticipation of seeing you again, but it was such a long day of just getting to that point, and my sexy partner had to depart quite early in the morning on Saturday. So I was like, oh, what do I do? Well, I guess I wander around town by myself then, do that, play a bit of video games, and play some more video games, and I was like, what can I eat? What can I order? What can I deliver? And it was like, oh, I can order stuff that you can't eat that's got gluten in it.
Yeah, of course. So you had awesome chicken wings.
I did. But it was a weird one in that, I think ordinarily we reconnect a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And because it was such a long period for you to come back, and it's not your fault, I'm not blaming you or anyone else for that matter. It was just a bit strange. By the time we got to that, we were both a bit like, okay, oh, this is really hot, this is really sexy, and night. And it was like literally hit the pillow and then out like a light. So how did you find your solo date? What was, how did you feel about it all?
I really loved it. I really loved the experience of having kind of always like getting to know her adventures beforehand.
Yeah.
And although I know her really well, it's different when you talk to someone on your own. You have to talk to them on your own, because you are together for quite a long time, traveling and traversing Paris and what have you. So I got to know her probably in a different way. I hadn't really thought that was going to be a thing. And it was just nice to know, like, understand more about her and, her life. And although we do know her really well, there's always more you can know. So that was quite...
There's more you can know.
There's always more you can find out, right?
Yeah, agreed.
And I think she found out more about me as well, about what makes us tick and kind of what our lives were and how we got to where we are now in our little journeys and things. It's quite interesting.
Okay.
So I enjoyed all that. I did find it a little bit difficult to go from poker nerd to sexy nerd later, but only in so much as I've explained already. I do also sometimes find that difficult anyway.
I think you do anyway.
When it's a planned thing, I sometimes struggle with it's planned. Oh my God, this feels so planned.
I don't know why you have such a thing about
I don't know either.
plans because
I get nervous then.
Yeah, but you're quite happy to go on fucking holiday and you plan that. You're quite happy to know what meals you're going to be having every night. And you like that.
I do like
You'd like
planning.
to know what, yeah. So,
Yeah.
So I don't see why.
I think it's because it gives me time to get nervous about things that I probably don't need to think about. And by that, I mean, feeling nervous about how do I look? Like I'm still kind of a bit about my body now and then. And the things that you shouldn't really think about, but they creep into your head because you've got that time built into the planning to think about it.
But it wasn't like, okay, so it wasn't mega plan because ultimately you did go to a random place.
Yeah.
And you did, there wasn't like an arbitrary at 10 o'clock we go to naughty times.
No,
so
it was very much see how the night goes with timings and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just did it all when it felt right.
Maybe what you need to do is just like go, right, okay, and it gets to the sexy times point or the time at which you're going to think about doing this, and you just go to a different hotel. You just walk up and just book a room somewhere. Just be like, all right, there we go. I've made it random. This isn't arbitrary now. We are going to a hotel that is not the one. So you've got a spy element of random.
I think part of it for me is getting better at probably having a bit more sexiness during the date itself, like the pre-bit, like the dinner or drinks beforehand. I think that might help in a way because I'm moving my cognitive thought process from, hey, we're out for dinner and drinks to I'm now having, time with you on a slightly different level.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the bit I probably need to get a little bit better at.
Like a little bit more flirty during the course of the thing.
Rather than comedy and random conversations about stuff that we probably didn't need to talk about.
But I think...
But yeah, maybe that's what's a little bit on me really sometimes to get better at.
There is a little bit of that to it. I think also, you had gone from a day of, like a long day of nerding out and doing your thing with all the Pokemons and then having to go in, shower or whatever, and then come out and then try and switch gear. I can understand how that could be tricky for you. But also, I think, maybe perhaps if you weren't doing all that other stuff and you were just going on a date or whatever, it might be a bit better. But that said, if you had to travel to go on a date, you'd be like, oh, no, I can't do this because I'm deliberately going somewhere to have a date.
Oh, I know.
So, and you need to really work on that mindset because I think,
I do.
Because if I was to say, right, okay, I've booked a naughty hotel for you tonight and we're going to go to a...
Then we'd have to travel to it, right?
Yeah, but would you find that arbitrary?
No.
Would it be sexy?
No, yeah.
No, yeah?
It wouldn't be arbitrary.
All right, I've booked a sexy hotel for us tonight and it has got all perfect lights. It's got a bottle of champagne ready. It has got the perfect underwear that you can wear. It has a long bath that you can sit. All that stuff, right? You'd be going, yeah, that's sexy. I'm going to do that. Because why is that different to you going to...
Well, you have already made it sound sexy by hinting at the fact that it's a sexy agenda.
But you knew that was a sexy agenda when you went to that hotel room.
Yes, but I don't think I approached it in the right sexy mindset.
Okay.
I think that's probably where I struggled a bit to switch off from day stuff to we're now doing this.
Okay.
And I think in part that might have been because of the exposure to all of the elements and the environment and what I was going through during the day. And there was a relatively short transition period for now we're doing this.
I think this is a little bit indicative of your overall drive for sexiness.
Okay.
And I think that we need to maybe have a look at the balances that you're going through. The balances like the testosterone and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Because I completely agree with that.
Because I think actually, because you're not driven by sexy times.
Because the hormones
aren't all out of sync and all the stuff and all the delightful own personal summer stuff, right? I think...
You mean the wretched perimenopause?
Yes.
Oh, full menopause.
Full menopause.
Not even peri. No chicken here.
Not even Fanta Spice. I think because that's not quite right... I think your drive to have sex is lessened, and the jump to go from this is a normal situation to I want to have sexy times is much, much lower. Yeah. And it's much harder for you to get into that space. And I would argue that perhaps that might help you more because if you're sort of in a space where you're like, oh, this is nice, I'd like to do that, to, oh my God, I want to do that, that's quite a different tone, and you'll jump through, excuse the phrase, like a lot more hoops to do the sexy times and advance
Because
those
my
on.
libido will match the want to get to that
Correct.
point.
That would be my. I mean, I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I would argue that might help you a little bit as well.
I would agree 100% that the libido balance of hormones is way off.
Yeah.
It's still as bad, if not more bad, than it's ever been, I think. That's not really ever the bit that's improved. Now, I know we tested testosterone and with varying degrees of success because of the side effects, and I don't think that's a route for me. So there may be something else.
Well, I think it may even be just the level of dosage, and it may be like a small dosage, a smaller dosage might be enough to get you into space where that's acceptable. But I don't know. Hey, like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I would argue that actually your drive to have sexy times, traditionally for you, if we go back 10 years ago,
very different.
Was very different. And I think you'd be a lot more inclined to not worry about all of the other stuff because you want to go get some. That would be my take on it.
I would agree with that.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's very
cool.
fair.
All
Should
right,
we move
then.
on to your?
We've got a whole
date?
10 minutes to talk about me, which is good. So,
But yours was probably slightly less because you weren't going to a different country and different stuff, and you didn't have all the Pokemon to cover.
I didn't have any Pokemon to cover at all.
No, you did not.
So one of the things when we sort of talked to our sexy lady friend about this, and we were mentioning about the fact that you're going away, and she said, yes, I will look after Mr. H. I shall take care of him. And I think she'd already signed a contract with you before we'd even stopped talking in that sentence.
I was very explicit that I did not want you sharing a bed.
Yes. So
that was the only thing I had that I don't want you to do that. She was like, absolutely not. I can't imagine anything worse.
Well, you said still no anal and definitely not sharing a bed.
Correct.
To sleep in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
or
yes.
playing in the bed, that's fine, but not staying in it.
I don't want you to sleep.
Yeah, fine to stay in the house, but just no cuddling.
That's reasonable.
Which
you can cuddle afterwards, just not go to sleep.
No cuddling out through the night was like where I was going with that, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. Just cool your tits, woman. Cool your tits.
It's hard too. It's very hot.
I know. So, for me, I booked an afternoon off because it was Friday. I thought, well, that means I can work in the morning. And I knew this particular person, timekeeping perhaps, and she may well attack me savagely for this, is not her forte, as is organisation. So she said, I will be there around about lunchtime. And for me, because I work from home, right, I've got into a routine, and lunchtime is literally like as soon as it hits 12, I am like wandering downstairs to make my lunch. I am like that regimented with my life when I'm working from home. But so I was like, well, okay, it's not going to be 12. I reckon she might leave at a push at 12 and be here for about 1:30. No. And it's like 2:30, 3.
Oh dear, Gandalf time.
Yeah, absolute arriving exactly when she means to. So she rocked up. Lovely to see her. She said hello to the dog and everything. Wonderful. And I was like, okay, well, I'm hungry because you said we were doing lunch. So let's go and get some food. So I hadn't booked anywhere knowing that this was going to be
very wise.
I think so. I have learned. I'm sure she's going to kill me for all of this, but that's fine. So we get to one of my favourite restaurants, and we wander in there and it's empty, and I'm like, great, we can get a table. And they're like, sorry, the kitchen's closed now until 5.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, okay, all right, we'll go to another one of my favourite restaurants that's around the corner. So we get to this other one, and the hostess that's there knows us because we have been to this place many, many times and know that we arrive often with a variety of different people. So and she does do a bit of a, that's not saying it, but there is a bit of a that's not your wife look. But I was like, hey, cool, hey, how's it going? Had a chat with her.
Regular table, sir?
No, well, she said we could sit where we want, and it was lovely. So we sat outside because it was fucking hot.
Oh yeah, you had a heat wave too, didn't you?
So we sit there and we had a couple of glasses of wine. Don't worry, folks, I'm not going to go into all the details of all the day, but the only reason I mentioned this is because, and I don't think I told you this, someone that we know walked past while we were sort of
Shut
not intimate, but we were
someone we know in our lifestyle.
No, from our past where we used to work.
Ooh,
yeah.
Oh,
And this woman is very clearly not Mrs. H that I'm with. So, and she's
Were you doing stuff with her?
no. So we were sat next to each other. So like we were touching, but we weren't making out, or we weren't like being naughty. but it was clear that we were quite close.
Oh.
So I don't know if they saw us or not, but that was it's quite funny. Yeah, of course. But it was quite funny because obviously we've got the hostess in the restaurant, like
Sort of in the know.
Yeah, sort of in the know. And then we've got the people that walk past the restaurant.
Get a reputation for yourself.
It was quite funny. Anyway, so we went out, had a couple of drinks after that, after some much needed food. Wonderful salad, really good. Very much enjoyed it. And then had a couple of drinks, and then we were like, okay, let's go back to the house. Because one of the things we said is that we didn't want to go like bonkers drinking because she had to leave early in the morning. We didn't want to, although we did have a couple of glasses or whatever. And we get to the house, and I put some music on while I was pouring a drink, and it was the Chef soundtrack.
Very good.
And she's like, "Oh, this is a good soundtrack." I'm like, "Oh, well, there's a film that goes with it. We could watch the film. Go watch it." So anyway, as we're talking about that, we end up kissing in the kitchen. Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, I didn't really think Chef was that sexy, but
Boogaloo, baby, I've made a date. Yeah. So we were like, well, we could watch it upstairs.
I see where this is going.
And we could...
Look at you with your advanced testosterone levels.
Yeah, look at that, right? So we went upstairs.
Like easily going from A to B.
And we ended up having some sexy times. One of the funny things
Round one.
Sexy times round one. One of the funny things was that she noticed for some reason, I don't quite know why, I think something fell down the side and I had to move the cube thing out.
Right.
And she's like, "What's that?" So we've got like this Liberator cube thing.
Yeah, couch thing.
It's like, it looks like a poof, and you unfurl it, and
like an S shape.
It's like an
furniture.
thing. So she's like, "Oh, that's cool." So I put it on the bed, and she pretty much fell off it a few times.
Oh, it's impossible.
If it's on the floor, it's fine.
But it's also a bit too narrow, I think,
but
to be comfortable without falling off.
It is a hidden bit of sex furniture, so that was quite funny. So we didn't actually have sex on it, but it was like some rolling around. Like,
done yourselves an injury.
Well, I was showing her how one might use it, and it was all quite fun and naughty and whatever. And then I was like, right, okay, let me put it away because this clearly is not conducive to naughty times. So we had sex. There was lots of going down. There was lots of play. It was lots of like a smorgasbord of stuff, all while Chef was playing on in the background because, you know.
A smorgasbord?
What
else was there other than going down and...
hand stuff, I guess, and some toys. And yeah. So it was all pretty sexy.
Okay.
Very nice. And then we were just chilling out watching the Chef on the TV and with the aircon on because it was fucking hot and I'm not a monster. And then I wanted to go to this particular restaurant that's near us, but we weren't super hungry. Random part of the thing, and you probably don't need to hear this, but it's all context, probably, or ads to filler or whatever.
Or just speed through it.
Yeah, well, I am going quite fast for me.
No, the listener.
Okay, yeah.
Play it on 1.5 times. That will really piss you off.
Okay, I can do that. So, so I found it at the restaurant, and basically they were like, well, we're closing in 45 minutes.
Oh, my God.
But we can give you a table if you want. So we were like, fuck it, so we just jumped in a cab, went to the restaurant, and that's where we played dominoes, that's where we sent you the messages. And of course, like with every venue that I went to, I was taking pictures and sharing with you. But also, they know us in this other restaurant as well.
Oh, my God.
So it was like, hey,
Can we ever go anywhere again, like without them going, oh,
no, there wasn't any...
Is this prolific Lothario again? What's he up to now?
It's my band name, Prolific.
String of women.
No. So we ended up going back.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then after a couple of drinks, we decided to have some more sexy times.
Round two, yeah,
which was a delight.
Without any awkward, like, I'm going to overthink all this, like,
no,
completely.
There was none of that. There was a risky move because I did have slightly spicy food, but I did think you were both batshit crazy actually having spicy food. But actually, we didn't have... Why would you do that? We didn't have lots of food there and we didn't go nuts. We just wanted to try the food because we were going to that place. So again, we had sex when we came back. Literally, and then got to about, I guess, midnight for us, 12:30, because she was like, right, we can have sex, but I'm going to be in bed by 12 o'clock.
I love that about her. She's so sensible.
And that was...
She needs sleep.
She does need sleep.
And she's very good at making sure she gets the sleep.
So I think she went to bed at 12:30, which...
very sensible.
Given my timings and her timings, which it was...
You didn't even get to do best work.
Well, I know I didn't get to do 2 o'clock is my best work, obviously. So
I was closer to your best work, however you were.
I know, but only through time zones. So then I messaged you, and then that's when we exchanged all of this sort of like, what have you been up to today and whatever, and that's when you sent your pictures over and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, I had a really fun... So it was like a whirlwind adventure, really. Yeah. It was very much... She arrived at like 2, and then by 12, half 12, we were in bed, and it was kind of very much ping-ponging around the city, going to different
I believe
little
it's
fun
swing pong.
Swing pong, yeah,
It have been
perhaps
dubbed
that
swing pong
has
now.
been dubbed occasionally.
Probably by all the waitresses in Clifton, Southampton now.
Maybe it's a possible thing. But I think, in terms of how I felt about you on your date, I was kind of...
What did you think? Were you thinking about me and...
So I thought you might struggle a little bit starting something off, but also I was very aware that Jessie is quite good at starting and causing trouble.
Yeah, but I started it.
I know. But
Maybe she was waiting for me to start it.
Maybe. I think there is... I think sometimes people can find you a little bit intimidating.
What? No, surely not.
Yeah, I know.
Nice.
Not me. Absolutely not me. But I
Is it because I have resting witch face?
You do, yes. Down the witch's road. So I do think that I was like, well, maybe there might be a little bit of that at play. I was like, that could be a thing that happens. I wasn't super worried about it, but I wanted to make sure that you had a good time. So I was trying not to disturb you too much.
Okay.
I was trying to keep you up to date of where I was, but I was just trying to give you a little space to breathe and have that adventure, because I thought you might struggle a little bit with that initiating stuff, and I didn't want to distract you from that space. I thought it sounded like you had a lot of fun. I think in terms of the pictures, they were very sexy pictures, but they weren't hot pictures.
Wow.
No, let me quantify that. There was no pictures of real sort of action happening.
I mean...
There wasn't anything like specifically naughty, but it was very nicely taken pictures of you two sort of lying on top of each other. Not literally like planking on each other or anything, but that would be weird. But there were some nice pictures of you. So I was like, okay, that's nice. That's a cool picture. I like it. Is it sort of sexy enough to make me go, oh, that's really hot? I'm not sure. But I really like them, and I really
want things going into things.
I don't know, and that's the thing. I don't know what I want until it sort of happens, or until I go, too much, pull out.
It's not.
It's not in your nature.
It's not in my nature to do explicit photos like that, because I don't find it that attractive.
Well, I think also when it comes to ladies, there's not so much whilst you can have toys and things going into things or whatever, there isn't here's you sucking a cock and is he doing this. There's not that sort of a picture. Now, there are creative ways around that, granted,
of course.
but also I was conscious that this is one of your first sort of, well, like one of 2 or 3 times that you've had a solo date, especially one where you're taking pictures and you're being encouraged to do it. And I didn't, I wouldn't go demanding like complicated, like, I want a dual style zoom or whatever. That's not what I was after. So I was really grateful that you made the pictures and took them and sent them over. That was really good.
Good.
Whether they were like naughty, I would say probably not on the naughty thing, but actually they were really sexy. That would be the line that...
Yeah, I would say they were erotic, but not explicit.
Yes.
Or graphic.
Yeah. They could have been a bit naughtier, but also you did bring me back a banging croissant as well.
I really did bring you the best croissant. You did, it probably wasn't the best in Paris, but it was one of them.
Well, the funny thing was like I was like, you brought it home and I was like, well, I've got to eat it at midnight because I don't want it to go...
have to.
Well, yeah,
also,
but it would...
It's best, probably.
Yeah, so I nommed that down at whatever time, so that was a delicious thing. I was really happy that you had a good time. You kept me pretty much informed as much as you could.
Except when my phone died of heat. But
yeah, I mean, you were Pokemoning for quite a bit of it, so I didn't
a lot. You didn't really need updates for that.
No, I didn't really care about the Pokemon bit, but actually it all worked quite well. I didn't really have any moments where I was like upset or worried, but equally I was very busy. Yeah. From sort of 2:30 or whatever it was on the Friday. Yeah. So. And you just going away overnight was no different to you doing that for work or whenever. So I think that's kind of where my head was at. It was like a fun experience. I'm glad that we both had something to do. I think in future I'd probably just go, right, I'm doing the sex now. And then, right, the sex has ended now. And that's because I don't think you want more information than that. You just
might a check-in of
maybe,
hey.
Maybe I need to get like an Apple Watch and you just like get my heartbeat when it goes beyond a certain amount.
What's he doing? I know what he's doing.
He's gone up some stairs. Yeah.
He's just taken his watch off.
Yeah, he's climbed up a large amount of stairs now. So I think in terms of learnings, I think, it was a continuation of the solo experiences. And I think that there wasn't anything really that worried me or concerned me. I think I had a nice fun time and I'd, be happy to see that person again. I liked the fact that we kept in touch. I liked the fact that actually we kind of reconnected quite a bit. I think it's been hard getting out any detail from you, but equally you don't want any detail from me. So it's like a weird, like, you're like, did you do the sex? And I'm like, yep. And you're like, cool, that's great. And you're like, blowjobs, and you went down on the sex, yeah? And you're like, yep. And you're like, cool. That's your list. And I'm like, so what did you do? And you were like, well, there was some rubbing. And then that's as like, it was really trying to like get blood out of a stone.
I did a little bit better, I thought, this time.
Yes.
A little bit.
A little bit better. It will be interesting to speak to her and see what she says about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll have a chat with her at some point. And
so tell me what really happened.
Yeah, what's the real... Yeah, tell me the real story, what went on behind the scenes.
I mean, that is what happened. However, she may well retell it in a more sexy way.
She may well remember it differently, as we found.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think it was as an experiment of us being in a different country and definitely being in different rooms and definitely seeing different people.
Definitely crossed the threshold.
Yeah, I think it went really well, and I don't really have any regrets that or any lingering worries or concerns.
No
over
regrets.
It. No, I do think there is something to be had about exploring about your libido, and I think
I completely agree with that. That's fair.
I think that's
mainly because it's driving me mad as well, because I'm very cognizant that it's not where it used to be, and it still hasn't really improved.
No.
So I do agree with that. But for us, like primarily, just so we can get back kind of to where we were a little bit.
Yeah, I think
but also it does help in this lifestyle as well. If I had a reflection the other day where I thought, what I don't want to do, and I am aware of this, so I'm not going to let it happen, but I am aware that sometimes the easier option with my much lower libido is to just let you crack on and do the sexy stuff you want to do and step out. Now, that's not because I don't care. It's more because I know my libido doesn't match what's happening sometimes. And it's almost an easier option to say, I'm not really feeling that, or I certainly don't have the same pace right now. And so you do that. I'm happy with that. You go off and do that because I know yours hasn't changed and you are very much at a level where it is exactly the same for you, if probably not higher, actually. And then I don't want that to become my precedent where I just let sex pass me by and you to go and have your good time, because at some point that will cause us to drift apart.
I don't think it will necessarily cause us to drift apart,
but
I think
it might sexually.
It
might, because it will drive more. It will almost become like commonplace for you to be like, oh, well, don't worry, she's like probably not into that. I'm just going to go do this because she's happy with it.
I think
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I think you've had the joke in our household is always that you're ill. You are always ill. There is always something falling off you. And I think looking back over the last few years, and, gentle listeners may recall this, that we've had the tummy issues where you've been locked in a bathroom all night. You've disappeared because you've been not feeling great, which was linked
all
to
those horrible things, which is obviously now we know the gluten allergies.
Gluten,
but
we've had
know this.
But we had menopause, and then you've had like a recent kidney infection, and there's been all these. There's always something going on that gives you an opportunity to step back and out.
I agree,
and I think sometimes I don't think it's a lack of drive in those circumstances all the time. But I think coupled with a lack of drive, it gives you that easy, well, I'll just sit here and you do whatever you want kind of thing.
I'm feeling a bit off, but also the fact that my libido is not there anyway, it's like cheerleading it from the side.
Yeah.
It means I'm less inclined to work through that and find a solution sometimes.
And I think...
And it's the easier option to go, I don't want you not to have fun, so off you go.
And I think that's what we kind of need to get to the bottom of and try and solve for you, or at least kind of work it a bit better. I don't think it would necessarily cause problems because we've kind of dealt with it for a long time. But I don't want you to get to a space where it's easier for you to go just knock yourself out than for you to work up to feeling sexy.
Yeah,
because,
I agree. I don't want that either.
No, and I think if you have to take such a lumber at it, then by the time you get into that space, like the moment will pass you by, I think. And also, we're not getting any younger, are we, between us? And I think, we might as well make the best of the good years that we've got. That sounds terrible. But you know what I mean? Like, to make the most of the space that we've got.
Have the good years now while we've got some kind of, like, youth on our side.
Some youth, yeah. Some youth, mostly the people we hang around with. So I think there is that to it. But I think, how for you, would you do that again? What would you change, if anything?
Oh, I would. I would like to try and tackle the libido issue, because I do think that plays a part in the mind, the cognitive approach you take, and the steps that kind of get me from that point to that point, I think would be helped if my libido is enhanced again. Yeah. Because I wouldn't overthink it, because the want would be like overtaking the weird want to kind of like logistically think through everything for some reason.
Taco brain would take over.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, fuck this. Like, why am I bothering about all this weird shit when I could just be doing that?
Yeah.
So I would like to sort that out. I think that would help. I think I also need to spend more time during the date itself, like being in a more sexy place, like mentally, rather than chit chat and dinner. Let's talk about stuff that's not even remotely sexy.
But I think that's been...
I just need to get better at that anyway.
Well, I think that's always been a struggle.
Yeah, maybe.
Particularly for you. And I think if anyone suggests that they take that approach, you are aghast. And you're like, that is not me, I don't do that. And so people...
Maybe part of that is the libido, a little.
But I think part of it is the libido, and part of it is just your general approach is that you don't like that level of forwardness sometimes. So I think... there is a balance to be had in there.
But I do like flirty behaviour.
You do, but if someone says, "Wouldn't it be
much?" I do like flirting with people.
Okay, so if someone says, "Hey, why don't we go out for dinner and we could all flirt together?"
Oh, that's weird,
right? See, there we go, and that's
let's all flirt together.
We all flirt together. Yes.
No.
So, but how do they know that flirting is acceptable?
Fair. I don't know, because obviously, if you're going out for dinner, then there's some level of, hey, we're going out for dinner.
We're going out for dinner. Do they have to put a winky emoji at the end of it?
But also, it's different depending on whether it's like a first dinner date with someone and you don't know if you've agreed that level of interaction is going to happen.
See, already there's boundaries being put.
My God.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
right.
I need to stop that.
We could go around in circles on this one.
Yeah.
So don't forget.
Okay.
Don't forget. Reassembled, 6th September, Birmingham. Message us for your ticket information and we'll send that straight to you.
You could see me being really awkward over some dinner as well.
Well, I think it's an interesting one because host-wise, we can do that. We absolutely put us in that different situation. Slightly different. But anyway, we might just start like slipping some testosterone into your tea. Totally ethical. And I'll slip you some Red Bull in there, some taurine will probably help you.
No, not Red Bull. No, you know how I feel about this.
We'll definitely get you there. No, but yeah, give us a shout and we'll be happy to tell you about the tickets. Mrs. H, do you want to do your thing?
I do. Well, thank you for hopping into our bed.
Off soon, right?
Oh yeah, we've got plans.
We have holiday plans, I guess.
Like 16 days.
Yeah.
In 16 days.
16 days. Well, the time of recording. So we are going to...
Tagged.
Yeah, for like a week.
I'm going to France again.
Going to France. Yeah, no Pokemons.
From France.
Yeah, no Pokemons in Cap d'Agde.
How do you know?
Well,
I'll find them.
I phoned them and they told me there was none.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. They looked at their phone and they said there are no Pokemon around.
I will find them.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. So we're off to do that. So we're going to give that a go, see what that's like.
Never been before.
Never been before.
Gonna see what we think of it.
Try not to sunburn my willy. And then come back, my one-armed willy. The pirate from Goonies.
Please don't refer to it like that.
So we're going to do that. And we're going to report back and tell you what it was like. Oh, adventures. So if you've got questions that you'd like us to answer about Cap d'Agde upon our return, message us. Send us a thing. And then we'll do our best to keep hold of it and come back to it. And then answer it. We'll do that. And then at some point, we're going to talk about Open House when we've actually watched it.
We're definitely going to do that.
Yeah. But thanks for sending in. We've had a few comments about Open House. It'd be really interesting to keep seeing those and watch it at some point soon.
Au revoir.